In today's video, I decided to try one of Path of Exile's fastest builds, and that is Static Strike Shockwave Autobomber, originally designed by Palsteron. This build is a monster of a mapper. Not only it's blazingly fast, but it also features 50 million burst damage, enough to one-shot every single non-Uber boss in the game. It's also very tanky, featuring over 8000 life and max attack block. Coupled with lots of armor and 75% berserk uptime, this thing can go anywhere it pleases. Alright then, let's begin with our Ascendancy. We are a duelist ascended into a Slayer, and that's for many reasons. First, we have Brutal Fervor. This node doubles the effect of our life leech and makes it uninterruptible by being on full life. It also makes us take 10% reduced damage from all sources while leeching, basically all the time. Next, we have Impact. This node grants us some global accuracy rating and a more than welcome boost to our area of effect. As you can see in the video, our Shockwave AoE almost covers the entire screen. This node also allows us to deal 15% more damage to enemies based on proximity, and yes, this applies to all attack damage based skills, even Shockwave. From here we go for Bane of Legends. This node grants us a permanent 20% more damage boost against unique enemies. That's in addition to 10% more damage if we have killed recently. Last but not least, we got Headsman. This node grants us that iconic 20% Culling Strike, which helps us finish off bosses when our damage falls short. This node also grants us 10% increased attack and movement speed for 20 seconds while mapping. And that was it for our Ascendancy. Now let's talk about our passive tree. Our tree focuses on strength, attack damage, Warcry effect, attack crit chance and attack crit multi, life regen, and increased skill effect duration. Next, we have one large cluster jewel that adds no notables. This one focuses on maximizing the benefits of smaller nodes, granting us strength, life, and increased node effect. From here we branch off into a medium Warcry cluster jewel that adds the following notables: Warning Call and Rattling Below. Next, for mastery choices, we have 15% increased maximum life if our chest have no life on it, 20% increased area of effect if we have dealt a crit recently, plus 25% to critical strike multiplier against unique enemies, 10% more skill effect duration, and 5% increased attributes. And that was it for our passive tree. Now let's talk about items. First, we have the signature item for all strength stackers, and that is the Iron Fortress. This chest grants us lots of strength and a chance to block attack damage based on how much of it we have. At 2400 strength, we are pretty much block capped. Now this item further increases the physical damage bonuses added from strength from 2 to 3%. That sounds useless at first, but we do take advantage of that thanks to a trick we utilize on our passive tree. Anyway, next we have Replica Alberon's Warpath. These boots grants us percent increased strength and added chaos damage to attacks based on how much of it we have. This is where all of our flat damage comes from. Without this item you deal no damage, hence this spell doesn't work without it. Alright, now that we got our flat damage sorted, we need to find a way to scale it. We have Ironwell Keystone allocated on our passive tree. It makes the physical bonuses of strength applies to all spell damage as well. Then we have 100% uptime on Battle Mage's Cry, which makes spell damage modifiers applies to all attack damage based on its power. And to scale that, we use Red Blade Banner Shield, which gives Warcry's infinite power. This shield also reduces Warcry cooldown, allowing that permanent sustain on Battle Mage's buff effect. Based on this interaction, scaling spell damage is more efficient than attack damage in this build. This shows in our weapon. We have a mace with crafted spell damage on it and increased area of effect per 50 strength Elder mod. These are our mandatory mods. Aside from them, you can have increased critical strike chance and chaos penetration as luxury. And ideally you want to craft all of that on a boom mace for its built-in explode effect. Our next mandatory item is a double influenced helm with elevated increased accuracy and crit chance per 10 strength we have. This is a Warlord mod, which you want to combine via Orb of Dominance with nearby enemies have minus chaos resistance hunter mod. Aside from these two, we have crafted life and unveiled plus 2 level of socketed AoE gems for our auras. Our next item is Calm Spirit unique gloves. These gloves converts our life regeneration into active rage regen. Rage stacks up to 50 times and grants us increased attack damage, attack speed, and movement speed. It's a nice buff, however we sacrifice it to gain Berserk. That's 20% more attack speed and damage, 30% more movement speed, and 20% less damage taken. We have around 75% uptime on it, which is massive. Anyway, make sure to get your gloves corrupted with despair on hit so that you will automate the curse, freeing up mana since you no longer have to run it as an aura. Our next item is Eyes of the Great Wolf Amulet with increased attributes implicit. This implicit is about as good as a perfectly rolled Astromantis strength wise. However, depending on how good the second implicit is, this can either be cheap or an expensive upgrade. It's up to you. Make sure to anoint your amulet with Heart of Darkness via Tainted Oils for its massive damage boost. Our next item is a belt with increased strength synthesized implicit. It has tier 1 strength, life, and a resistance mod. That alongside increased cooldown recovery rate. This is a syndicate mod and it is mandatory. You can manually craft this via your crafting bench and it should be enough. Now for our rings. First we have a generic Lihio Bavar ring corrupted with increased strength implicit. This is best in slot as we need every single stat on it. Our second ring is a little bit different. It's a rare one with life, strength, resistances, and crafted minus mana cost of non-channeling skills. You will need to have this crafted somewhere, otherwise you will have some mana issues. But with that we are done with our items. Now let's talk about gems that goes inside of them. For our main 6 link we have Static Strike, Shockwave, Awakened Void Manipulation, Pulverize, Increased Critical Strikes, and Increased Critical Damage. Anyway, next we have our main aura setup. This one contains Determination, Summon Skitterbots, Awakened Unbound Ailments, and level 4 Enlighten. Make sure to have this setup in your helm to benefit from the +2 AoE gems mod if you have it there. Next we have a second 4-link setup that contains the following gems: Blood and Sand, Withering Step, Vitality, and level 1 Precision. Next we have a 3-link that contains our main Warcry setup. We have Battle Mage's Cry, Urgent Orders, and Berserk. Berserk will automatically trigger in the spell thanks to Battle Mage's Cry ability to auto-trigger it once you attack with Static Strike. Anyway, last but not least, we have a pseudo 4-link setup that goes in our weapon. We use this one for bosses only. It contains Frozen Legion, Pulverize, and Awakened Void Manipulation. It will also get increased critical strike support from our weapon if you have it crafted there. And that was it for our gems. Now let's talk about jewels. For our Watcher's Eye, we have increased life recovery rate while affected by Vitality, and increased critical strike multiplier while affected by Precision. Next we have a Lethal Pride Timeless Jewel that mentions any general. We don't use this one for its added keystone, rather we care about the random bonuses it adds to nearby notables. We are looking for as many strength bonuses as possible. Next we have an Unnatural Instinct Jewel. This one will grant the bonuses of all nearby unallocated small passive nodes within its range. Now here is the thing. Our Lethal Pride Jewel adds small strength bonuses to all small nodes within its range, and since Unnatural Instinct range overlaps with Lethal Pride, we get like 100 points of strength for free. Pretty neat. Anyway, next we have 2 split personality jewels that grants strength and life based on the distance between them to our class starting location. Any remaining jewel sockets you have left should be filled with a normal rare jewel like this one. We are looking for life, resistances, and as many damage modifiers as possible, preferably crit multi. And that was it for our jewels. Finally, for Bandit's quest, we are going to help Alira as usual. As for Pantheons, we got the Soul of the Brine King and the Soul of Aberrath. And that was it for our take on Path of Exile Best Shockwave Mapper. If you guys have enjoyed this video, then feel free to leave a like and maybe consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any future build guides like this one. My name is Phoenix and I will see you all in the next video.